Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Clara, an ambitious young black woman, enters the bright lobby of Whitmore & Company, dressed in a simple but elegant suit. Her heart is pounding. Today is the interview that could change her life. She knows the importance of this position and has prepared for weeks, rehearsing every word, every gesture. From the first few minutes, the tone changes. The recruiters, two arrogant executives, eye her up and down, questioning her skills and experience with barely concealed disdain. "Do you really think you're qualified for this role?" one asks, smirking. Clara remains calm and responds politely, but each hurtful remark resonates like a hammer blow. What the recruiters don't know is that Clara isn't just another candidate. Her father, William Johnson, is the managing director of Whitmore & Company, a man respected in the business world for his integrity and strategic intelligence. Clara has chosen never to use this connection to gain an advantage, determined to succeed on her own. As the interview draws to a close, the recruiter's tone becomes increasingly condescending, trying to unsettle her and ridicule her in front of their small group. But Clara, inwardly, is preparing for a twist that none of them had anticipated. A simple phone call, a signature on a document, and William Johnson's shadow looms over the room. Arrogant faces freeze. Humiliation turns against them. Clara, serene, leaves the room with her head held high, while the recruiters realize, too late, that their arrogance has blinded them. Clara Johnson walks through the glass doors of Whitmore & Company, her resume clutched in one hand, her bag in the other. The lobby is impressive, gleaming white marble, perfectly manicured houseplants, and the quiet hum of employees behind their desks. Everything exudes prestige and power. She is greeted by Mr. Harris, a recruiter with a forced smile. From the first few minutes, Clara senses that the mood is not in her favor. The questions aren't difficult, but their tone is sharp, almost contemptuous. "Your experience seems limited for such a strategic position," Harris said, flipping through his resume as if every word were a mistake. "I believe my experience in project management and international relations prepares me perfectly for this role," Clara replies calmly, her tone measured but assured. His interlocutor almost sneers, and his colleague adds, "Are you sure you can keep up here? This isn't a beginner's environment." Clara felt a mixture of anger and determination. She gritted her teeth, but remained calm. She knew that giving in to emotion would prove these arrogant men right. As she continues to answer with precision and professionalism, she notices their skeptical and mocking looks. They are completely unaware of the truth. Her father is William Johnson, the managing director of Whitmore & Company. But Clara has decided never to use this connection to gain an advantage. She wants to succeed on her own, even if it means suffering humiliation. When the interview ends, the recruiters exchange satisfied glances, convinced that they have intimidated the young woman. They don't know that the story is only just beginning. Clara leaves the building, her heart still heavy with humiliation, but her mind is racing. She knows that giving in to anger would accomplish nothing. What she wants is an intelligent comeback, one that will make an impression. She goes home and thinks. She notes every word, every gesture of the recruiters precisely. She realizes that they underestimated her intelligence, her preparation, and her family connection, even though she never intended to reveal it. The next day, Clara contacts a former colleague with influence within the company. Tactfully, she shares some strategic information she possesses that could greatly benefit Whitmore & Company, but she does so in such a way that the recruiters who humiliated her are exposed as careless and uninformed. At the same time, she sent a polite and professional email to her father, William Johnson, without directly mentioning the incident. She informed him of her application and her desire to contribute to the company, letting her competence speak for itself. William, impressed by his daughter's professionalism and maturity, decided to follow the process closely, without intervening directly, for now. A few days later, an unexpected call from Harris, the condescending recruiter, unsettles Clara. He offers her a second interview, ostensibly to correct the mistakes he noticed the first time. Clara calmly accepts, her discreet smile betraying her confidence. she knows the real turning point is approaching. In this chapter, we feel Clara's rise to power. She goes from victim to the main actress of her destiny, ready to transform humiliation into triumph. The second interview begins in the same elegant room, but the atmosphere is different. Clara enters confidently, her suit impeccable and her gaze calm, almost indifferent to the arrogance that had overwhelmed her a few days earlier. Harris and his colleague, visibly surprised by his calm, try to regain control of the situation. "We hope this time you can convince us of your ability." Harris begins, but Clara politely interrupts him. "I think my skills and experience speak for themselves. However, I would like to clarify some points you raised last time." Clara then pulls out a complete file, projects she has led, quantified results, recommendations from former supervisors, and even some analyses that demonstrate gaps in Whitmore and Company's current strategy. The recruiters, initially confident, suddenly become nervous. Each page Clara turns highlights their lack of knowledge and underestimation of her. Silence falls. Harris tries to retort, but his arguments ring hollow in the face of the obvious. Clara, tactfully but firmly, outlines solutions to the company's problems, highlighting opportunities they themselves had overlooked. The room hangs on her every word. It was at this precise moment that William Johnson quietly entered the room. The recruiters, taken aback, froze. William's respect and natural authority filled the room. He exchanged a knowing glance with Clara. "Clara kept me informed of her efforts and her candidacy," he said calmly. "And I must say that her professionalism and vision exceed your expectations." Harris and his colleague, flushed with shame, realize that they have not only underestimated Clara, but have also attempted to humiliate her by ignoring her parentage. Clara's revenge is complete. She has proven her worth through her skills, and her father's presence reinforces her authority, completely reversing the roles. Clara leaves the room with a slight, satisfied smile. She knows this is only the beginning, but the lesson is clear: arrogance cannot triumph over preparation and dignity. After the decisive interview, Clara is officially hired at Whitmore and Company, this time with the implicit respect of those who had humiliated her. But she knows that the real battle is only just beginning. She wants to use her entry into the company as a springboard to change mentalities and show that merit trumps arrogance. From her first days, Clara carefully observed the internal dynamics. The recruiters who had belittled her were cold, cautious, and sometimes even hostile, but Clara showed no sign of it. She focused on her work, taking ownership of her projects with panache and providing innovative solutions to problems the teams thought were insoluble. Her results speak louder than words. Employees begin to whisper, "She's really brilliant." Or, "I didn't think she could handle this so effectively." Clara's reputation begins to grow, and with it, the respect of senior management and her own father, William Johnson, who continues to watch her with pride and discretion. Harris, the arrogant recruiter, realizes that his past behavior can no longer be ignored. He tries to downplay his mistakes, but Clara remains polite, professional, and distant, letting the truth sink in. The small mistakes he now makes in front of her become visible to the entire team. At the same time, Clara demonstrates generosity and collaboration, gaining the trust of her colleagues and attracting powerful allies. She understands that true strength lies not only in revenge, but in the leadership and respect she inspires. This chapter marks a turning point. Clara is no longer content to survive or defend herself. She begins to take power, using skill and strategy rather than direct confrontation. His former tormentors are slowly beginning to understand that underestimating someone can be costly. It's been a few weeks since Clara joined Whitmore and Company. Her projects are beginning to yield tangible results. Profits are increasing on the projects she oversees, and her innovative proposals are beginning to transform the way the firm approaches certain markets. Clara is entrusted with a new strategic project, a partnership with a struggling international company, a project that arrogant recruiters had previously dismissed as unsalvageable. Clara calmly and methodically analyzes every detail, establishes a precise plan, and mobilizes her team. The results exceed all expectations. Not only is the partnership saved, but it quickly becomes profitable and opens up new opportunities for Whitmore and Company. The recruiters who had humiliated her are now in a difficult position. Harris tries to regain control, but each attempt results in visible mistakes and silent criticism from their colleagues. Clara, on the other hand, remains polite and professional, using strategy rather than aggression to assert her position. William Johnson, her father, observes the situation with quiet satisfaction. He knows that Clara has chosen never to use her name to gain favors, and that it is precisely this approach that makes her success so impressive. She is not just the headmaster's daughter, she has become a credible leader, respected for her talent and vision. This chapter shows how Clara transforms the initial frustration and humiliation in force, gradually gaining the respect and admiration of those who had underestimated her. The seeds of her future influence within the company were now planted. With her initial successes under her belt, Clara begins to consider broader change within Whitmore and Company. She notices that certain internal practices, tolerated by arrogant recruiters, are hampering innovation and creating tensions among employees. She therefore decides to propose a program of internal reform, improving communication processes, valuing real skills rather than prejudices, and mentoring young talent. William Johnson discreetly supports his initiatives, giving him the freedom to implement them. The moment of confrontation with the recruiters comes when she presents her recommendations at a strategy meeting, in front of the entire board of directors. Harris and his colleague, who had previously tried to humiliate her, try to criticize her proposals, but Clara has anticipated her arguments precisely. Calm and confident, she demonstrates, with figures to back it up, the positive impact of her ideas. Each of the recruiters' objections backfires, their outdated methods and arrogance are exposed for all to see. Even some colleagues, who had previously hesitated to respond to their condescension, speak out in support of Clara, emphasizing the relevance of her proposals and their own frustration with past injustice. At the end of the meeting, the effect is spectacular. Clara receives applause and congratulations. Harris and his colleague remain frozen, ashamed, unable to deny the obvious. Clara has not only asserted her competence, but she has also oriented power within the company, showing that intelligence, preparation, and merit always triumph over arrogance and humiliation. This chapter marks a decisive turning point. Clara is no longer just a competent employee, she becomes a driver of change and a respected leadership figure, ready to transform Whitmore and Company for the better. A few months after her first reforms, Clara was entrusted with a project of international scope, negotiating a strategic partnership with a European multinational, a delicate matter that could propel Whitmore and Company into a new market. Her former recruiters, Harris and her colleague, are incredulous. They had overlooked her potential, and now she's leading a major project. Clara leaves nothing to chance, she studies every detail, anticipates every objection, and prepares innovative solutions for every potential problem. During meetings with foreign partners, Clara impresses with her mastery of complex issues, her charisma, and her professionalism. Her interlocutors immediately respect her, admiring her ability to combine strategy and diplomacy. The results are spectacular. The partnership is successfully signed, generating enormous opportunities for the company. At Whitmore and Company, the contrast is stark. The once confident, arrogant recruiters must now publicly acknowledge Clara's worth. Harris tentatively attempts to justify himself, but it is clear to all that his previous attitude was inappropriate and that he underestimated an extraordinary person. William Johnson, present at the internal success celebration, exchanges a proud look with his daughter. Clara has not only won a major project, she has consolidated her reputation as a visionary leader, capable of transforming challenges into victories. This chapter illustrates how Clara continues to transform her past humiliations into strength and influence, proving that respect is earned through talent, perseverance, and strategic intelligence. Following her international success, Clara has become a key figure within Whitmore and Company. The teams respect and listen to her, and even arrogant recruiters must now acknowledge her competence. But Clara isn't resting on her laurels. She wants to ensure the company operates according to the values it upholds: merit, respect, and innovation. She begins by reorganizing certain teams, placing the most competent people in key positions, regardless of their seniority or popularity. The recruiters who had humiliated her are now under her direct observation. Every decision they make is scrutinized, and the mistakes they make, previously ignored, are now highlighted. During a strategy meeting, Clara speaks calmly but firmly. We cannot continue to tolerate arrogance and lack of preparation. Our strength comes from competence and collaboration. The former recruiters try to argue, but Clara counters them with facts and figures, demonstrating the consequences of their past mistakes and the true value of each team member. The entire committee turns its gaze to her, and even Harris finally lowers his head, aware that he is now in his prime. Clara doesn't just correct mistakes, she establishes a new culture, one where everyone can shine and where humiliation has no place. Her authority is not imposed by fear, but by the respect she inspires thanks to her intelligence, integrity, and ability to turn challenges into success. At the end of this day, Clara knows that she has reached a new level. She is no longer the humiliated candidate from the beginning, but a respected and undisputed leader, ready to defend its values and guide Whitmore and Company towards a prosperous future. As Clara consolidates her influence and reputation, Harris and his colleague, humiliated and frustrated, attempt one last attempt to sabotage her career. They organize a strategy meeting, hoping to embarrass her in front of the board by manipulating figures and creating an artificial crisis situation. Clara, anticipating their maneuvers thanks to her keen observation skills and meticulous preparation, arrives at the meeting with all the verified data and solid counterarguments. As soon as the recruiters launch their accusations, Clara calmly exposes each manipulation, clearly explaining the real impact and concrete solutions. The members of the board of directors, impressed by her mastery and transparency, silently applaud her professionalism. Harris and his colleague remain frozen, unable to respond to the evidence. Clara has transformed their sabotage attempt into proof of his competence and leadership. At the end of the meeting, William Johnson intervenes quietly but firmly. Clara not only anticipated this situation, but she also demonstrated that her merit exceeds all your expectations. The recruiters, definitively disqualified, must accept their defeat. Clara leaves the room, serene, aware that each past humiliation has contributed to forging her strength and authority. She has proven to everyone that talent, preparation, and dignity always triumph over arrogance and malicious maneuvering. This chapter marks Clara's total victory over her former tormentors, showing that she is now the master of her destiny and essential in the company. A few months later, Whitmore and Company is no longer the same company. Clara's reforms have paid off, projects are moving forward efficiently, teams are collaborating harmoniously, and innovation is becoming the company's hallmark. Clara, now respected by all, is invited to chair several major strategic meetings and represent the company at international conferences. Her rise is not based on her father's name, but on her skills, perseverance, and strategic intelligence. Harris and his colleague, permanently relegated to supporting roles, watch helplessly as the woman they had sought to humiliate succeeds. Their past arrogance is now well known, and their lesson is clear: underestimating someone out of prejudice or arrogance can be very costly. At an internal ceremony, William Johnson speaks. Clara is not only my daughter, she is the perfect example of what determination, talent, and integrity can accomplish. She has transformed every obstacle into an opportunity and every humiliation into strength. Clara smiles, but her gaze extends beyond the room. She knows that this triumph is not only for her, but for all those who have been underestimated or unfairly humiliated. She has created a legacy of respect, excellence, and merit within the company. As she leaves the stage, applause erupts. Clara Johnson is no longer the humiliated candidate from the start. She has become an essential leader, respected, admired, and ready to write many more chapters of success.